Over half of all animals in the open ocean drift in currents. Jellyfish cross entire oceans, feeding on whatever happens to tangle with their tentacles. Some can grow to 1 meter, even 2 meters across. And when, by lucky chance, they encounter a patch of sea rich in plankton, their numbers explode. It's such a successful strategy that jellies are one of the most common life forms on the planet. But among the jellies, and looking somewhat like them, is a rather more complex and sinister creature. The Portuguese man-o'-war. It floats with the help of a gas-filled bladder, topped by a vertical membrane. With that serving as a sail, it maintains a steady course through the waves. Long threads trail behind it, some as much as 30 meters long. Each is armed with many thousands of stinging cells. A single tentacle could kill a fish, or, in rare cases, a human. But among its lethal tentacles lurks a man-o'-war fish that feeds by nibbling them. Whilst this fish has some resistance to the stings, it must still be extremely careful. Most other fish are not so lucky. Tentacle has caught this one and reels it in. It's already paralyzed. Specialized muscular tentacles transfer the victim to others that digest the catch, liquefying it with powerful chemicals. Eventually, all that is left is a scaly husk. This voracious man-o'-war may collect over 100 small fish in a day. their cover blown, escape seems impossible. But these particular fish have a unique ability. They're flying fish. With an extra thrust from their tails, the flying fish get airborne once more. With a good wind, they can glide for hundreds of meters. This is just what the frigate birds have been waiting for. When frigates join the hunt, the flying fish are literally caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. If the flying fish get too much lift, they become easy prey for the frigates. If they dive to evade attack from above, they could fall into the mouths of the Dorado.
Holding my breath, I free dive to the action. One whale swims under a shoal of sprat, which drives the fish up to the surface. Common dolphins have also found this shoal, but the minkies are the dominant force here. I keep my distance so as not to interfere. The minkies sometimes blow a short line of bubbles near the shoal of sprat. I've never seen this behaviour before. It seems the whales could be using the bubbles to partly herd the sprat. After half an hour, it's all over. The birds take off, perhaps searching for more shoals.
Oh my God. You can actually smell the fertile areas in the ocean because phytoplankton give off a gas known as dimethyl sulfide, DMS, and seabirds have an incredible sense of smell. And I wonder if they use that to find the fertile areas in the ocean and the shoals of fish. Maybe even whales and other animals could follow concentrated flocks of seabirds feeding. There's so much that we don't know still. But when you think, a shoal of fish might be 20 metres wide in an area of the ocean, it could be tens of thousands of square kilometres. It's quite a feat for these animals to find them. So maybe the sense of smell is what's driving the whole thing. But what a wonderful scene. Thousands of seabirds, common dolphins, and more than a dozen minke whales, all feeding on shoals of sprat and sand eel, who themselves are here to feed on the plankton.
During the dry season, over 500,000 terns crowd onto this remote atoll in the Indian Ocean. Their chicks are still in their dark juvenile plumage. They vary in age. Whilst the more advanced chicks take to the air, others aren't quite ready yet. Those just starting to learn to fly use the shallow lagoon that occupies the centre of the atoll as their training ground. It's difficult for some of them to stay aloft for long. Valleys. Usually they are solitary hunters, but about 50 of them have come here from neighbouring reefs, attracted by this abundance of potential prey. The fledglings stay out of the water if they can. They even drink on the wing. If the trevally are to catch one now, they have to up their game. So there is a fish here that, amazingly, has a brain capable of calculating the airspeed, altitude, and trajectory of a bird. The time comes when every fledgling has to take to the air and collect food for itself. Their parents lead them to the training grounds. If they are to survive, they must learn quickly. After a month of practicing over the lagoon, the youngsters start to leave and take their chances out over the open sea. The oceans around southern Asia are also feeling this pressure. These seas feed billions of people around the world. For many fishermen here, their catch is their only source of livelihood. And there is one fish here that they prize above all others. The whale shark. It swims slowly, gently harvesting the plankton. It's almost 20 meters long, the largest fish in the world. They are also under threat. Like many shark species in Asia, populations have declined by more than half in recent years. They are an easy and valuable catch. But here there is a respect for the seas and their inhabitants. Whale shark hunting has now been banned across Indonesia's waters. This whale shark plays a different part in the lives of these fishermen. They feed him, and the relationship seems to bring joy to both parties. And with this new protection has come something truly remarkable. Whale sharks from far away are seeking out these fishermen, and in these safe waters there is a chance for their numbers to increase. And maybe one day other shark species will be protected too. The people here have made a simple but extraordinary choice. Fishing in a way that is sustainable for themselves and the animals. Caring for wildlife is surely our shared responsibility. Across this vast continent and across the world, it is decisions like these that are key to protecting the planet's most precious diversity.
For thousands of years, shoals of herring had gathered in the small bays of our North Atlantic coast. For several winters now, I've been trying unsuccessfully to find shoals of herring in our inshore waters. December is the key month when shoals would aggregate in these protected bays before spawning, and also when they were fished. The cold water at this time of year helps with spawning. The further north we go, the colder and darker it gets, but this can lead to more fertile waters. In the fishing port of Killybegs, County Donegal, I go to sea like many a man before, in search of these herring shoals. I'm using scuba as herring usually stay deeper, and these are cold, dark waters. At 20 meters depth, it's more or less dark looking down. After a few days' effort, I sense movement and look towards the sun. Herring, thousands of them. They scatter from my dive bubbles and seem to move in sync. They never allow me to get close.
It's wonderful to find some herring after several winters of trying, but what a fabulous fish they are. The old folk called them the king of fishes, but they were also hugely important for the ocean ecosystem because herring feed on plankton and fish larvae and effectively convert that energy into the rich fatty fish that they become. But I have to wonder what these bays looked like maybe 100 years ago, when the herring shoals were reputed to be, 2 kilometers long, and what the wider ocean looked like at that time compared to now.
A kilometre from the surface, beyond the reach of the sun. A giant black void, larger than all the rest of the world's habitats combined. There's life here, but not as we know it. Alien-like creatures produce dazzling displays of light. – animals need to attract mates and repel predators. This language of light is so widespread here that these signals are probably the commonest form of communication on the entire planet. And yet we still know little about them. Hunters illuminate themselves and, by doing so, attract inquisitive prey. This is fangtooth. It has the largest teeth for its size of any fish. There are pressure sensors all over its head and body, which can detect anything moving in the surrounding water. It's the midnight zone's most voracious fish. But prey use light as a distraction. A decoy of luminous ink. Down here, in this blackness, creatures live beyond the normal rules of time. Siphonophores are virtually eternal. They repeatedly clone themselves, some eventually growing longer than a blue whale. Down here, it snows. Continuous clouds of organic debris drift slowly down from above. This is food, and a whole variety of filter feeders depend on it. Jellyfish, and delicate sea cucumbers. The 1% of marine snow they miss eventually settles on the sea floor. Over millions of years, it forms a layer of mud up to a kilometre thick. It's an empty plain that covers half the surface of our planet. The deep seabed may at first appear lifeless, but it's home to a unique caste of mud dwellers. The sea toad. It is an ambush predator with an enormous mouth and infinite patience. This fish has been living for so long here that its fins have changed into something more useful. Feet. They help it shuffle about on the seafloor. The flapjack octopus. It hovers just above the surface of the mud as it delicately sifts through it, searching for worms. But it can jet away at the first sign of danger. Even when more sea lions arrive, they can't seem to break down the sardines' coordinated defenses. With a shoal this big, the sea lions need to isolate a smaller, more manageable group of fish. But with so few predators, the fish still have the advantage. All the sea lions can do is keep the sardines at the surface and wait for others to join them. Tuna. Their arrival changes everything. Tuna attack from below, cutting off the sardines' escape route down to deeper water. Next to appear shearwaters. Excellent flyers, but also surprisingly agile underwater. With so many predators attacking from all sides, the advantage starts to shift away from the sardines. As the fish pack ever tighter, their shoaling strategy now makes it easier for the hunters. Sharks. They've scented blood in the water. Surprisingly, perhaps, the predators never attack one another. They work together to corral the ball of fish, taking turns to grab a mouthful. Common dolphins. As the shoal gets ever smaller, each sardine scrambles desperately to hide in the middle. But now there's no escape. Brooder's whale finishes off the feast. Tons of sardines devoured in less than an hour.
The whales can sense the presence of the herring and dive in pursuit. Holding my breath, I dive to film the action. They're not easy to find in the darkness. Tiny bubbles rise from the deep like a gas. Then I see a cloud of them, and it goes like a massive shoal of fish emerge from the deep. Thousands and thousands of herring. Killer whales have found them and driven them up from the deep. With their sudden change of pressure, gas has burst from their swim bladders, which control their buoyancy. The whales work together to squeeze the fish into an even tighter ball. Gulls have spotted the signs. The killer whales push the herring up, but the humpbacks will be there to profit from this. The whales flick their tails into the herring shoal to stun the fish. The animals briefly surface only to catch breath. Birds have learned to be in the right place. But then the humpbacks, with their enormous mouths and cooperation, take the lion's share. And after less than 30 minutes, it's all over and the animals leave to search for more herring shoals.
But most of the creatures come together for a very different reason. To breed. The giant cuttlefish. The largest of all cuttlefish. They live for just 1 or 2 years. Now, as the Australian summer draws to an end, they have one last act to complete. To find a mate. But there are over 100,000 males competing for the arriving females in this one bay. Among them, a giant, a true Goliath. He probably weighs about 10 kilos. Bands of colour sweep across his skin. That's how cuttlefish communicate. This smaller male couldn't possibly take him on. Beside Goliath and under his protection, a female who has just mated with him. But other rivals are still interested. It seems a small male wouldn't stand a chance. The female is now displaying a white stripe along her side nearest Goliath. It's a clear signal that she no longer wants to mate with him. It's all the encouragement that the little male needs. He's going to have to use trickery. He tones down his colours and tucks in his arms. He's just the right size to mimic a female. Goliath is deceived. The small male now displays a white stripe, just like the real female, to deter his advances. He slips beside her, and they mate. By mating with multiple partners, the female ensures the greatest genetic diversity for her young. The sneaky male leaves, his final act complete. So even among giant cuttlefish, it seems, it's not all about size. He's a marine iguana. The only lizard in the world that gets its food from the sea. The seaweed on which he totally relies only grows in abundance here because of the nutrients brought by the Cromwell current. Once in the water, he has just 30 minutes to find food. Any longer than that, and his muscles will seize up and he'll drown. For like most reptiles, he can't handle the cold. chilly water isn't a problem for a warm-blooded cormorant. She can swim in it all day, but can only hold her breath for a few minutes. He, on the other hand, completes his whole half-hour trip on one single breath. His flat face and sharp teeth make him an efficient seaweed cropping machine, but with the clock ticking, he must eat fast. The cormorant, having caught its fish, goes back to the surface. One last mouthful, and it's also time for the iguana to head for home. But to stop his muscles from seizing up in the cold water, he must get back quickly. So he could do without the attentions of an inquisitive sea lion. Dry land is now just 30 meters away, but the biggest hurdle is still to come. The surging water now fights against him. He's out, but he stayed in the cold so long that he's lost his strength. And he's made it.
It's my chance to document these animals. It would be my first time in years of trying to film a fin whale underwater. Being in the water with whales this size is something I've learned to do safely over many years now. But it's still scary. I think about my ancestors and wonder what they would have made of this. The fin whale swallows an enormous mouthful of sprat and dives, coming within a few short meters of me. An awesome animal. Water visibility is just a few meters. What an incredible moment. To my knowledge, it's the first time anyone has filmed a fin whale underwater in Ireland. And then, a humpback whale. But this is no ordinary humpback whale. I can recognise from the tail and dorsal fins that this is Boomerang, a whale that has been coming to our south coast for 20 years now, and for some reason always associates with fin whales. He blows a single line of bubbles, perhaps to herd the sprat, and lunges from below the water. Humpback whales usually blow circles of bubbles to entrap fish, but this animal is just blowing a line. Perhaps he's competing with the fin whales. Again and again they rise, one giant mouth after another.
Four fin whales feeding. Oh my god. They're 20 metres and up to 80 tons weight. That's 2 fully loaded articulated trucks for 16 elephants.
In the underwater forests off northern Japan, the residents of this sunken wreck are waiting for the summer temperatures to reach 16 degrees Celsius. That, for some, is the time for mating. A kind of giant wrasse called a octopi. This is a male. And in female terms, he is particularly handsome. He's a metre long and weighs 15 kilos. Much larger than the diminutive female. And he is ready to breed. He attempts to mate with her, and with any of the other dozen or so females that live in his territory, whenever he gets the chance. But females from around 10 years old take little notice of his advances. This is because when any large female reaches a critical body size, she can begin a dramatic transformation. Over just a few months, particular enzymes inside her body cease to work. And male hormones start to circulate. As time passes, her head expands and her chin gets longer. A she has changed into a he. And with this comes a change in temperament. The old male who ruled all the females here is challenged to a face-off. The more bulbous the head, the more it intimidates an opponent. Territory has a new ruler. Only the largest females transform themselves in this way. But the change enables them to have more mates, so they will have many more offspring carrying their genes. But a new male can't afford to be complacent. Inside the body of every Kobudai female, there is a new male in waiting. Northern Australia has the highest tides in the tropics, which expose vast areas of shoreline. And here lives a truly extraordinary species of octopus. Octopuses are marine animals. They live and breathe underwater. At low tide, most octopuses will be imprisoned in their rocky pools. But this is no ordinary octopus. It's the only one specially adapted to walk on land. It pulls itself along using the hundreds of tiny suckers that line its arms. Hunting for crabs, it walks from pool to pool. Apart from a rather startled fish. This one is empty. So the octopus moves on. A rock pool may seem like a safe refuge. But the octopus's suckers enable it to move just as stealthily in water as out of it. Nowhere is safe when this octopus is around.
On St. Brendan's voyage, the monks wrote of having arrived at a coagulated sea, a place where the water appeared oily and absolutely no wind. All they could do was wait. I go for a swim in clear blue water. Salps are a chain of creatures living together. They suck seawater through their bodies to filter plankton, and this also propels them forwards. A mother and very small calf. This doesn't feel like Ireland.
We're here finally in the edge of the continental shelf, 250 kilometres southwest of Ireland. This place is called the Porcupine Seabite. And what's incredible about here is that the seabed, as you come west of Ireland, it's about 200 metres deep, and then suddenly it just drops down to 1,000 metres, then 2,000 metres, and then eventually to 5,000 metres, the abyssal plain. And that's more than half the height of Mount Everest. And you can see the conditions are just, I mean, it's surreal. It's absolutely beautiful here. And the water, it's blue, crystal clear and blue, not like the coastal waters we get in Ireland, which are green because there's so much organic matter and plankton in there. Here, it's blue, and we can see for maybe 15 metres. What we're hoping to find here is the fin whale. We've managed to film them in the inshore waters close to Ireland and other parts of the North Atlantic. And if we can find them here and maybe film or photograph the back of their heads, the chevron and the blaze pattern that's unique to every individual fin whale, a bit like our fingerprints are to us, then maybe we can confirm some migration routes of these animals, or at the very least show the different areas where they're feeding and they're moving around, and try to protect them in all those areas and the areas in between. And right here on the edge of the continental shelf to the west of Ireland, it's one of the most fertile places in all of the North Atlantic, and this is where they're likely to be.
The struggle to survive in our green seas can have far-reaching consequences. Once a year, one particular meadow in Australia is transformed. Around the first full moon of winter, an army materializes. Spider crabs. For the past year, they've been feeding in deeper waters. Now they march across the seagrass plains. hundreds of thousands of them. They clamber over one another. Creating great mounds. Nearly 100 meters long. They're not seeking mates, neither are they laying eggs. They have come here in order to grow. Like all crabs, their bodies are enclosed in a hard, unexpandable shell. So, to grow, they have to break out of it. And that allows the soft one that has developed beneath to expand. It will take days for the new shell to harden. Its legs are so limp that they won't work properly. The crab is unprotected and in great danger. A smooth stingray. It's huge, about 4 meters long. It wants a soft, freshly molted crab that will be easier to eat. The crabs try to stick together. But now, disturbed by the ray, they're scattering. A newly molted crab is too weak to keep up with the crowd. The safest place is right in the middle of the pile. That is why they have all assembled here. There is safety in numbers. But the vast majority of the crabs escape, and within the next few days they will be ready to return to the depths and resume their lonely wanderings in search of food. This is no graveyard, but the triumph of 100,000 crabs successfully molted. Blacktip reef sharks. They are bigger and more powerful than trevally, but not as fast or as agile. The hardyheads are well aware of them, but so long as they stay just out of reach, they have little to fear. when now the sharks and the trevally join forces. Together, they enter the shallows, each looking for a chance to attack. The trevally make the first move, and the hardyheads take refuge again in the waves. And this is what the sharks have been waiting for. Surging forwards, they chase the hardyheads out of the water, beaching themselves in a daring bid to hoover up their prey. The hardyheads that escape the sharks swim back out to deeper water, but into the mouths of the trevally. Now the receding waves help to pull the sharks back into deeper water. The seabirds get their chance. It's a feeding frenzy in only 10 centimetres of water.
I've ventured here to the mid-Atlantic ridge in search of fin whales. I believe they may come here to feed. These underwater mountains are known as seamounts, and they can be hugely fertile areas. Because of their shape in the middle of the ocean, they cause nutrient-rich water to well up from the deep, creating oases of life in the open ocean. In places, they rise within a few meters of the surface. In other areas, they may peak at 40 or 50 meters deep. I dive in a seamount almost 100 kilometers from any land. Shoals of barracuda gather here to feed on smaller fish, as do these triggerfish. They even try a bite of me. Shoals of small snipefish gather in numbers and squeeze together to form bait balls. The larger triggerfish, barracuda and other smaller fish arrive to feed on this open ocean bounty. Blue sharks migrate here annually because they know there'll be fish. In the relative barrenness of the open ocean, the seamounts of the mid-Atlantic ridge are an oasis of life for sea creatures. It's funny, the sea can be so much more stable at depth than it is at the surface.
shark. It travels over 8,000 kilometers a year, riding on the currents supported by its broad wing-shaped fins. This one may not have eaten for 2 months. But the currents can carry promising traces of fatty oils from many kilometers away and will lead it to its next meal. After days of travel, the smell of food gets stronger. A dead whale, recently struck by a ship. This could be a real feast, but the blue shark must be cautious. Great white sharks, 10 times heavier than a blue, are highly possessive around a whale carcass. Great whites are eager to feed on energy-rich whale blubber, which we now know forms a major part of their diet. Once the great white has had its fill, smaller sharks, like the blue shark, tackle what's left of a carcass. As the oils from this dead whale spread more widely, more and more blue sharks appear. Within days, the carcass will be stripped of its blubber. Then, no longer kept buoyant by its oil, it will sink into the depths below. The blue, with its reserves of fat replenished, can now survive for another 2 months without eating. Eden's whales have lived here for generations. But the world around them is changing. Today, agricultural pollution flowing from the land is beginning to suffocate this sea. Many fish now stay closer to the surface, where the waters still contain enough oxygen to survive. Eden's whales depend on these fish. They swallow huge quantities of water before filtering out their prey. It takes a lot of energy to drive their 15-ton bulk through the water. And with so few fish, the rewards from feeding like this are barely worth it. So, to survive here, the whales have developed a new hunting technique. One that requires almost no effort. They simply open their mouths and wait. The panicked fish jump right in. Swimming alongside, another whale scares even more into the open jaws. With this ingenious new technique, Eden's whales have found a way to survive the pressures they now face. All across the planet, animals are having to adapt to a changing world. But the speed of these changes will be too fast for many. If we could only halt our unrestrained plunder of the ocean, its habitats and species would recover. And at a time when our overexploited lands are already failing us, this has never been more important for humanity.
West of the Clare coast, some ocean giants have arrived. I wonder what St. Brendan and the early seafarers, in their open boats, would have made of these creatures. Basking sharks. I can only imagine how many sharks they would have encountered in the Atlantic waters 1,000 years ago. Did the sharks terrify them? Or did they perhaps spend time getting a sense of the animals and their quiet nature? We see basking sharks for maybe a week or two every year in sunlit spring waters, when they arrive to feed on plankton, and then just sporadically over the summer. They then disappear in early autumn for another 8 months. Where do they go? We're really not sure. There are almost no winter sightings of basking sharks in our inshore waters. They appear to be gentle giants, but we really only see them when they're feeding on plankton at the water's surface, gliding gently to catch as much plankton as they can, filtering it from the seawater with their gill rakers. But I'm not convinced they're just docile creatures. At up to 10 meters and 5 tons, these are intimidating animals to meet in the open ocean.
And wave power creates towering fortresses like these cliffs in the Arctic, home to tens of thousands of breeding seabirds. The faces of the cliffs are accessible only from the air and have plenty of nooks and crannies for those that can get there. But to feed, seabirds must still master the ocean world beyond. A puffin. He's a fisherman and a father. He has a mate for life. Both share the burden of raising their week-old chick, their puffling, who needs 5 square meals a day. The parents alternate fishing trips. It's Dad's turn. When fish stocks are low, puffins must fly as much as 50 kilometers out to sea to reach the good fishing grounds. Once there, they plunge into another world. Good fishing spots are hard to come by, and they have company. Guillemots. Like the puffin, their wings are short and good for diving. Puffins can hold their breath for over a minute and dive as deep as 40 meters. A catch. But it's a long way home. After an exhausting round trip of almost 100 kilometers, this puffin's nearly made it. But there are pirates on this coast. Arctic skuas. All around, returning parents are being robbed. The skuas' long, raked-back wings make them faster and more maneuverable. Puffins must choose their moment wisely. near miss. A last desperate burst of speed, and it's made it. Safely home after a 3-hour round trip. Where his patient partner is waiting. Today, their puffling will eat. But where fish numbers are in decline, many puffins now find it hard to get enough food for their chicks. In the changing seas of today, it can be even harder to be a successful puffin parent. Hunting is only possible for 3 hours around low tide, when the mud banks are exposed. Razor-sharp oysters cover much of the shore. Beaching here could be lethal. The hunters need to find a stretch of shoreline with just the right slope. Too level, and the dolphins risk stranding. Too steep, and they can't force their prey from the water. Working as a team, the dolphins surround the fish, driving them towards the shore. Attacking in perfect synchrony, the dolphins create a bow wave. It carries their prey onto the muddy banks. Other fish eaters profit from their daring. Herons and gulls follow every hunt. To get to the fish first, the dolphins drive themselves high up the bank. But if they go too far, they risk stranding. To prevent fish escaping between them, the dolphins all beach themselves on the same side. Always the right. But this has a cost. Each time they grab a fish, they also take in a mouthful of mud. The grit gradually wears down their teeth. But on one side only. In time, these teeth get so worn down that older dolphins can no longer hunt like this and must find other ways to catch fish.
In sunny Atlantic waters, 30 kilometres south of Ireland, I'm searching for open ocean sharks. Sadly, most all of the 40 species of sharks in Irish waters are now in trouble. Unlike basking sharks, most others are predatory sharks. That is, they have teeth and strong jaws to eat fish. They're curious animals. Blue sharks are the most common predatory shark in Irish waters. They're highly evolved hunters in their own ocean environment. The pores around their heads are sensors filled with gel that can sense the tiniest movement of fish or other prey. And humans are of no interest to these animals. They migrate all around the North Atlantic, visiting Ireland in the summer months to feed, then travelling to the Azores and America. In the last decade, however, their numbers have dramatically fallen because of chronic overfishing. These blue sharks have more than likely circumnavigated the North Atlantic. They migrate with the seasons. I guess you could say they live by the seasons. And they come into Irish waters in mid to late summer when the water warms up a bit to feed, I guess. You know, sharks have been around for 400 million years. There was a shark fossil found in the Burn dated to 300 million years ago. But what I find incredible is that about 100 million years ago, most shark species actually stopped evolving because more than likely they had reached the perfect form to hunt and to live and survive in the ocean. They've likely come into our bays and our shallow waters for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and I can find no credible record of a shark attacking anybody in Ireland or any place close. But they're really curious. They come right up to the camera. What a privilege to share the water with these creatures. Look at this one. Absolutely beautiful animals.
In the Gulf of Mexico, these eruptions also release a super salty liquid. Brine. It's heavier than seawater, and it accumulates in great pools on the seafloor. It's difficult to make sense of the sight. A lake of concentrated salt water, 15 meters deep, at the bottom of the sea. around its margin, perhaps even more strangely, there is a profusion of life. Giant mussels that can live and grow for a century or more pack tightly together, dwarfing the shrimps and squat lobsters that feed around them. Cutthroat eels, scavengers, come to the shores of the Brine Lake in search of something edible. Some even venture into the brine. Spending too long in it can send an eel into toxic shock. Its only hope is to rise above it. It manages to escape. Others are not so lucky. The brine embalms their bodies, and the casualties of decades accumulate around the margins.
Off the coast of South Africa, more adolescents have reached that difficult age. At 2 years old, male bottlenose dolphins leave their mother's pod to form boisterous gangs looking for excitement. They like nothing better than surfing. Spy turtle is here to see what they get up to. He in turn is joined by another spy creature. This is spy puffer, based on a fish that blows itself into a defensive puffball. The spy creatures are here to film these teenage tearaways. Spy puffer faces a bumpy ride. Bust-ups are common. It's easy to get caught in the middle. Young males are so unruly the females kick them out of the family pod. This isn't spy puffer, it's a real pufferfish. The poor creature gets the same rough treatment. Perfect for a game of catch. But the dolphins are dicing with death. Pufferfish are one of the most poisonous fish in the ocean. They exude a powerful nerve poison called tetrodotoxin. It only takes a small amount to kill a human. Even so, the dolphins often look for pufferfish and love to chew on them. Taken in small doses, the secretions seem to have a narcotic effect. The dolphins are careful not to swallow them. Instead, they hold them gently in their mouths. Despite the risks, passing the puffer has become a popular dolphin pastime. Luckily, the little fishes usually survive the strange experience.
Ocean creatures migrate. Some to wherever the winds and currents bring them. Others, quite deliberately, to where there is food and they can breed. And sometimes feed on other animals. I'm drawn to the elemental beauty of jellyfish. We're seeing increasing numbers of them in recent years, possibly due to a decline in predators who hunt them, like turtles. They abound in our summer waters, drawn to the life-giving energy of the sun. Barrel jellyfish are the largest in our waters. They can provide shelter for juvenile fish, and because of this, scientists now believe that the increase in the number of jellyfish may actually help fish stocks. Jellyfish are inescapably drawn to the sun. Living for just a few months, they strive to reach maturity, chasing the bounty of the early summer plankton bloom. Like most creatures, they appear to have two life goals: to reach maturity and reproduce. I dive with this beautiful shoal of compass jellyfish in our warm summer waters. They have come together to breed.
In a far corner of Southeast Asia lies the Coral Triangle. A cluster of the richest coral reefs in the world. undersea cities crammed full of life. As in any crowded metropolis, there is fierce rivalry for space, for food, and for a partner. But the reef is also a place full of opportunity. A cuttlefish. It specializes in hunting crabs. But a large crab is a dangerous quarry. It has powerful claws. The cuttlefish, however, has a remarkable talent. Its skin contains millions of pigment cells with which it can create ever-changing colors and patterns. And that, apparently, hypnotizes the crab. A cuttlefish may be clever, but a shark is bigger. And it eats cuttlefish. Time to disappear. Back to the hunt. A new target, but the same mesmerizing technique. For those that manage to establish themselves in these bustling undersea cities, there can be great rewards.
Sea snakes. At one time, these snakes' ancestors lived on dry land. They must still visit the surface to breathe. But they are beautifully adapted to life at sea, hunting for fish around the island reefs. They have some of the most toxic venom of any animal, so they don't have many predators. But as they forage off the coast of one small island, their greatest nemesis is approaching. Yoko and Setsuko are hunters, and they have a fearsome reputation. These two 70-year-olds are on a shopping trip like no other. Yoko and Setsuko live on the tiny island of Kudaka. It's only 4 kilometers across, And with limited space on land, the locals look to the sea to provide. As the sun sets, the lady's prey is approaching. On certain summer nights, venomous sea snakes move towards the island and gather in coastal caves, looking for shelter and fresh water to drink. But coming ashore on this island is extremely risky.
2回3回こうやってその時にカーンだね、見えるんですよ。
It takes some nerve to wade in with no protective clothing. Sea snake venom can be 10 times more powerful than a rattlesnake's. Yoko has been hunting snakes for 40 years. It's a skill that's been passed down the generations here for at least 5 centuries. The snakes will be dried in this smokehouse using a secret process known only by the hunters. Then they go into a special soup. The catching and eating of sea snakes is a very old tradition on the island of Kudaka, where the sea provides more than the land.
A Sally Lightfoot crab. One of thousands of shore crabs just waiting for their moment. Every day they gather on the tropical shores of Brazil, waiting for the tide to go out. Which exposes their feeding grounds. Seaweed-covered rocks 100 meters from the shore. Getting there is a race against the tide. They leap from rock to rock. These crabs seem to be afraid of the water. And for good reason. The moray eel. The chain moray is a specialist crab hunter. Its blunt teeth can easily grip and crush a crab's shell. It's the crab's deadliest enemy. But the crab's feeding grounds are still a long way off. They must press on. Halfway. But their enemy has other ideas. Crossing the land. To reset the ambush. To feed, the crabs must keep going. But nowhere is safe. An octopus, also a crab killer. The crabs make a dash for it. Made it. Risking life and limb to graze on these seaweed pastures. But in 2 hours' time, when the tide starts to turn, they will have to run the gauntlet all over again.
It's only the warmth of the Kuroshio Current that allows coral to grow this far north in the Pacific Ocean. The current also brings nutrients from the deep. There's one very small resident who never strays far from the reef. He's a blue streak cleaner wrasse, and he leads a very busy life. He eats parasites and dead skin from other fish, but he has to wait for them to come his way. And right now, no one is stopping long enough to give him as much as a nibble. But then he spots something worth chasing. A batfish. Like a customer at a spa, the batfish lies back and waits for attention. It opens its gills and the cleaner wrasse bustles in to begin the treatment. The batfish even changes colour, probably to make parasites more visible. Someone else has arrived at the reef. The batfish is abandoned. There's a visitor from the open ocean that's worth dropping everything for. A manta ray, 2 meters long, has come back to a favourite stretch of reef. He signals to the manta by flicking his tail. And the giant responds by unfurling itself for cleaning. The manta keeps its feeding lobes rolled up while it swims. But a thorough clean keeps them parasite-free. This enormous fish would never visit Japan if it wasn't for the warmth that bathes the island chain and the helpful services of this resourceful little wrasse.
Out here on the sand flats, there is safe accommodation for some. A family of saddleback clownfish have found an excellent home. The tentacles of this carpet anemone can kill, but the clownfish are immune to the poison. So they can shelter from danger. In return, the fish keep the anemone clean of debris. As with all clownfish, the family is ruled by a big female. Her white face marks her out as the boss. The diminutive male has to prove his worth, so he works tirelessly, removing debris and generally keeping on top of the housework. His greatest challenge is to find a safe place where the boss can lay her eggs. But there's nothing solid here for the female to lay them on. A nearby shell could be the solution. If only he can move it to the protection of the anemone. Too heavy. Besides, it has a mind of its own. Hermit crab. But out here, twice a day, the anemone is swept by tidal currents, and they bring in new opportunities. An old plastic bottle. Perhaps this will do. Not heavy enough. Coconut shell. It looks just right, but it's a long way from home. And he can't move it by himself. So the pair now work together. A little adjustment to the anemone's tentacles in order to clear a space for it. And the shell is tucked in. The female lays. A safe nursery at last. He has proved himself worthy to father her young, and he fertilizes them. Now he will meticulously tend the eggs, keeping them clean and healthy until they hatch in 10 days' time.